Hey everybody, and welcome to Paper Crafting with Tammi. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. It is awesome to see you here. I have a great project for us today that we're going to start on in just a minute. If you haven't done it yet, take a minute and hit that big red subscribe button so you see what else I've got for you next time, and let's get started. Hey paper crafting friends, thanks for joining me today. I want to welcome you to our YouTube Kiwi Lane collaboration that we've got going on. There are several videos in this hop, so make sure that you check the description when you're done with this one and see where to go next. There are lots of really talented creators that have got some great things featuring this September 2020 Kiwi Club Kit. This is the palette that I'm going to be using today. So these are the color choices I've already made, and I am bringing in just a couple of pieces of white cardstock. These are going to be my background papers. I was having a hard time deciding what I wanted to use from the kit for a background, and so this time I decided to go ahead and just use some white background, and I think that's going to work out beautifully. So I'll be using a big chunk of this sunflower paper today. I'm going to be doing some accenting with this gold. We've got this light blue. This is actually one of the background papers, and I haven't decided if I'm going to use the light blue or the dark blue. We'll see, but this is going to be my photo mat paper today. I'm going to be using a little bit of this white and kind of a taupe textured paper, the navy blue with the white dots, and then this really beautiful kind of mosaic. As far as the sentiment cards that I'm going to be featuring today, I'm going to pull out this My Happy Thoughts. I'm going to be using this one here, The Happiness is Being A, and I'm going to use that along with one of these words on this card. The You Are My Sunshine, and then I'm going to feature these as well. So if you're planning to create along with me, take a minute, grab those pieces, and we'll get started laying it all out in just a second. All right, let's go ahead and get this laid out, and then we'll make some color choices. So I know that I want to have a couple of strips up here at the top. I already have a paper in mind for this, and I want a nice chunk of it. I'm going to use that really pretty mosaic up here. I just love those papers. I feel like they really bring everything together in a layout and feature all of the colors. Okay. At the bottom, I'm going to do a couple of 1-inch strips. And this is, I have not made a paper choice for this yet. We'll kind of see as we get creating. But I just wanted to kind of ground the things that I'm going to add into this layout down here. Okay. I know that I want a couple of big color blocks on each side. Now, I've chosen the banners templates for this, but I honestly do not plan to use the features of these templates. I'm just going to be using these to get an idea of size and spacing. So I'm going to go ahead and put one over here, and you'll notice I'm covering up that really decorative piece, and that's because I'm not planning on featuring it anyway. I'm going to do the same thing with this banner, and this is just part of that idea, right, of using your templates for designing. Sometimes you're putting them out, even though you're going to use them in a little bit different way, but they really help create a placeholder for you for what you're doing, okay? And so I know I want a couple of big blocks here. The other thing that I know I wanted to bring in is this Cedar Trails. And I'm going to bring in 2A and 2B. And these are going to go right up at the top. And I'm not quite sure how far up yet. It kind of depends on how the rest of this comes together. But I really love this look. And I've got a detail in mind on here that I think will be a nice little pop to go with it. Okay. Whenever I create a big space like this, it's usually because I'm planning on anchoring some photos. So I have got two 4x4 mats that I'm planning to put here. And so this is when we start to figure out how far up this Cedar Trails is going to go, because I probably will not have it covering these up. So we'll kind of see how that works out, if I can push it up just enough to have those 2 photo mats there. Okay, and hopefully I don't need to switch to another size. We'll see. On this side, I'm going to go with a couple of 3x4 mats. My plan being, I really want to feature this little picket fence template that came in the kit this month. So this Homegrown 5 template I want to put here, and I may not make it quite as tall. I'm okay with the tips kind of touching the edge of this photo mat, but I may bring it down just a little. That is one of the most darling templates I've ever seen. Love it. Okay. I have room here to do just a nice 4x6, just to get a good sized photo in there. And then I played around with some ideas on this side. And originally I had a couple of large photos, but I had already made up my mind that I wanted to include this journaling block that says My Happy Thoughts. And you'll see it goes portrait style. If it was a landscape one, I could maybe replace one of these photos here, but it doesn't. So what I ended up deciding is I'm going to do a 4x5 here. And then I'm going to use this journaling block right here. Okay. So I could hold that with a photo mat, but I'm going to go ahead and just put that there because I know it's what I want in that spot. Some of the other templates that came with this kit that are just darling are this sunflower template. So it's the Homegrown 2 and the Homegrown 3. So I was thinking that I'm just going to have this flower kind of poking out beside this fence, kind of like it's growing behind, behind the fence. And this Homegrown 3 will work out really well here. This was the card that I had in mind for this. It says, "You are my sunshine." Now that definitely fits. It leaves the whole center of the flower as that sentiment, so I could definitely do that. When I am ready to make that decision, I may swap it out for this larger one. This is from our Tiny Nature set. It is really the same template, right? But it's just larger. And I have room to do that whole template on here, so we'll see. It's going to be one or the other. I'm not sure yet. We'll just kind of see how that looks once we get some of the other pieces together. I also decided to pull in this little country template. This is from our country set. This is country 4. And I chose this because this little jar fits perfectly on this happiness is being a, okay? And you'll see what a sweet little jar that I can create with that message. And this little cutout area here is going to work perfectly for me to put right over this. And I'm going to cut out that piece that says grandma, and it'll be happiness is being a grandma. And I can put that there. So I'm going to feature this cute little jar just here beside my journaling block. And to keep that feel of the flowers going, I'm going to pull out Simple 4. This was from one of our snap frame sets. So I'm going to pull out just this little cute stem and have it coming out of here. And we'll see if I end up deciding to do one or more than one. But I could either use like the center of this. This is Homegrown 1. That would be kind of cute. I think this other Homegrown template is probably a little bit too large for over here. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if I went the other way. There's definitely some options in there that we can kind of figure out as we go. So this gives you a basic idea of the layout that I'm going for today. I'm going to start making some paper decisions, and I'll do some tracing and cutting off camera. If there's anything that I think needs to be addressed that we can talk about as I'm doing that tracing and cutting, I'll definitely do that. But for the most part, I try to do those things off camera so that I don't take up too much of your time. So hopefully you've got this laid out if you're working along with me. If not, just pause the video and get that done, and I will start doing the next steps. All right, so I just got to the piece that I'm going to use for this Cedar Trails, and I just wanted to show you real quickly a little tip for this and how to do it so that when you're done you have extra usable pieces. Okay, so because this is curved, I really don't want to do it right up against the edge. That's going to create some little funky scraps that I can't really do anything with. I'm going to bring it down a little bit, thinking about this piece being a scrap that would be a usable border strip for a future project. So I'm going to go ahead and trace here. I'm going to trace my bottom edge. And the way these are made, see how nicely that just lines up? Then I can trace this edge. And when I go to make a straight cut on my trimmer, I'm going to bring that straight cut down a little bit to try to mimic the amount of space that I have here. Okay, so I've got maybe 1/2 inch from the bump to the edge of the paper. I'll do the same thing here, about 1/2 inch from the edge of the paper. That looks like it's going to put me somewhere around this dot line. Okay, so if that makes sense, then I'm going to have these two pieces that I can use on the layout I'm doing right now, but I'll have this piece and this piece left for a future project. So just something to think about. All right, I have been busy off camera and I cannot wait to show you the color choices that I made. I am super excited about how this turned out. So this is the paper that I ended up using for the 2-inch strip. I ended up cutting it just about 1.5 instead of the 2, because the more I looked at it, the more I realized that a lot of it was going to be covered up. So I did, just like I said, the 1.5 by 12 to go there at the top. And then I chose this deep blue with the white polka dots for the bottom. It's funny, this is such a simple paper, but I absolutely love it, especially with these colors and the sunflowers. So that is going to be there. I used that same paper to make these designs with the Cedar Trails 2A and 2B for the top. But I'm going to go ahead and put these color blocks in place first. So just a tip if you decide to do this. This obviously uses quite a bit of this sunflower paper. I like this paper, but I wasn't really worried about using it up. But I'll tell you what I did. I knew that I only needed about 9 inches of this, so I went ahead and cut a 3-inch strip across the top. I figure that's going to leave me a nice border that I can use in another project. And then these are like 4 3/4 inches wide, so 4 3/4 by 9. So I've also got another little piece that was left here that I can use in something as well. So sometimes just knowing that I'm leaving enough for a future project makes me feel better about using a big chunk of something. So let me go ahead and get these at least somewhat in place. And I think they're showing up enough on the white background. I just inked the edges, but I think they're still just a really nice pop. And then look at how fun this is when we seal up the top. I really love this. So I'm happy with how that went. So then I had to make my decision about those photo mats. And I told you I was really going back and forth between the lighter blue and the darker blue side. And an argument could be made for either, for sure. But I wanted this paper to continue to be just a standout piece. And so I think the light blue actually works out really well. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and go with, is the light blue. Now, it covers a lot of this paper. So if you absolutely love this sunflower paper, you may not want to use it for this particular purpose, right? That may cover up too much in your opinion, and absolutely choose something different if that's the case for you. This would also look really good with that little pocket paper. The darker, it's like a dark yellow and it's got the little blue pockets all over it with the sunflowers peeking out. That would be darling in this spot as well. All right, so here's what it looks like with all those photo mats. And I do like the light blue. I'm happy with that. But what I cannot wait to show you are the embellishments, because they turned out so stinking cute. So I'll start on this side. Look at this little pot. So remember, that was that little country accent piece. So I cut out the pot, used the inside of that pot to cut out the grandma. I popped this up on some foam tape, and then I just took some twine, like a jute twine, and tied that around the top and just knotted it off. So that is so stinking cute. And then I wanted the flower coming out. I decided to turn the flower towards the photos so that I could just kind of have it bringing everything together over there. One struggle that I had as I was doing this was really deciding what to cut the stem out of. That sounds like a weird thing to struggle over, but there is not a touch of green in any of this paper. So while my instinct was to make this green, it wasn't going to go unless I pulled in enough, and I decided to go ahead and just go with a dark blue. If you look at the paper as it's designed, the stems on these sunflowers are dark blue. So I just went with it. It turned out I had a little bit of the photo mat paper left, so I just used the reverse side. And it took one of these, I had an extra 4x4. So I went ahead and used it to make that one and the stem for this other flower on this side. Okay, so I've got that stem. I went with the larger Nature 5T for the You Are My Sunshine. And I'll probably tilt that message so that it comes in a little bit. I'm not sure. Maybe not, because I kind of want it to follow the shape of the flower. And then look at the fence. So cute. So that flower is kind of coming out behind the fence. It's touching some of those photos. I just feel like everything really tied together really nicely. And then the more that I looked at this top area, I really wanted something else up there. So I took this and I traced it several times and used the same paper that I used for this, and I just made these little cuties to go up here. And one of the things I've seen in the past are people will use buttons, so that's another great idea. Buttons are fun up here, but I thought these would be really nice. I decided not to do one here and one here because it just felt like too much. I really think that these are going to be enough, and I'm going to do one more thing on those. And I have this tool. Oh my gosh, I've had this for such a long time. It was from Epiphany Crafts. I honestly have no idea if these are still available. Maybe they are. But I thought it would be really cool to make these embellishments with this Epiphany Crafts tool and using this. So I'm going to show you just how to make one of these if you haven't ever seen this. But you slide your paper in, and now it turns out, of course, that this is a little bit too wide. So let me just trim this down a bit, because you want to be able to center it right in that punch. Okay, so I'm going to get it centered in there just how I want it. And then you take one of these epoxy pieces, and these are epoxy, they're adhesive. So you can peel one of these off and you slip it right in here, trying not to move the piece you started with. Slip it right in here, put the cap back on, and you punch it. This pulls right back out. And then you can open this up and get your cute little piece that you made. So basically you get to make your own epoxy embellishments. And look at that fun little edge on there on top of one of those. So I'm actually going to do that with all of these. I'm going to do a center for this flower here, and then I'll figure out kind of how I want the colors to go across the top. But what a fun embellishment to add to an already super fun page. So I cannot wait to find some photos to go on here of me and my grandbabies. We grew some sunflowers out in the yard this year, so I'm hoping to be able to find some pictures that I can use of those sunflowers with the grandbabies and make my happiness as being a grandma page. So I hope that you had a good time watching this today and just got a couple of new ideas. Get that kit out. If you're not a club member, you can find details about that in the description of my video. You can also find the links to the other videos on this hop in that description box. And I hope to see you back on my channel again another day. So if you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you soon. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Bye-bye.